Normally I try to avoid early access games simply because I don't want it to affect my opinion of the final finished game. It's not always a finite rule though, as there are exceptions here and there, sometimes based off of goodwill from the company and others for the sake of a discount. It feels a bit unfair to put this game on the list, but after looking long and hard, I honestly had more fun with the early version of this than I had with a lot of other finished games this year. I'm confident in the company's goodwill and what they've done so far with the game that it makes it easy for me to add 30XX to my list. The last game, 20XX, was going through essentially the same early access design philosophy, and so far it's working great for Batterystable games. For the uninitiated, 30XX is a procedurally generating Mega Man X-style game, where every time you start it gives you a random layout for its stages. There's still different robot bosses to fight as you get further and further into the levels, and bosses and levels get harder and harder to conquer as you get further. You make progress every time with various tokens to boost yourself up, while still finding a good balance and difficulty curve as you play. It packs a pretty strong, memorable soundtrack, which you really need when making a Mega Man-like. It looks great, and there's plenty of variety to be found in the boss fights. My personal favorite being Hoot Omega, where getting past the stage itself is the boss battle. And that variety also extends to its level design. Every stage offers various themes, such as vertical switches in one area, or having a V-style gravity switching stage in another. As you get further and further into your runs, the enemies get harder and more frequent. Granted, this is still in early access, so balancing issues and strategies on how to get through are still getting worked on. I admit I haven't made it to the finish line yet, but that's only because its design, weapons, and balancing are still in the oven. It has nothing to do with my lack of skill and carelessness. But that is something to bring up. Like the original Mega Man X games, this does demand a bit of patience. If you go into the game rushing and being careless, you're sent back on a brand new run. And if you're not a fan of the starting from scratch method of most roguelikes, the game has an extra mode where you don't have to start from the very beginning if you die, and you just end up going in the last stage you were in. It's a welcome addition in case you weren't as big a fan of the classic roguelike mode of 20XX. I've got a lot more to say about 30XX, but for now, much like 20XX, it finds a way to make the procedural generation work in a Mega Man tribute that I couldn't get enough of. More stuff's being added to the game all the time. This will be on my radar and it should be on yours as well. You are a bad enough dude to make it to the end of this video, but are you a bad enough dude to make it to the next one? Find out by subscribing to see what game's next on my top 10 marathon, or you might be the Big Lebowski and not the dude, which I'd say go ahead and hug a stranger in the Alps.